All right. Good afternoon, guys. I hope everybody's doing well. We, jumped on Virginia, right off the bat. I think yesterday we came out and did a lot of corrections. It was, good for our guys to see the mistakes that we made and the plays that we left out on the field. Obviously Clemson's a great opponent, but, I think offensively we left a lot of plays out there that we've been making throughout the season, and particularly some big plays, and just didn't come through with those big plays. And you're looking at the film, and it's I think there's about 3 or 4 minutes to go in the third quarter, and it's still 17-3. And there's a couple of times where we felt like we had opportunities to score. Obviously, it would have been a different kind of game. And against a team like Clemson, you got to be able to hit those plays, as I mentioned after the game, and really wasn't any different after going back and watching it. And but to correct those mistakes, to move forward, that's what we're doing. We know we got a great opponent in Virginia, 5-2 team, coached very well. Coach Mendenhall, I think maybe this is his 5th season, maybe, and he's done a great job of building that program up. They're very competitive. Their kids play extremely hard. Defensively, one of the best defenses in the country, and they're right there with Clemson in tackles for loss, sacks. Their linebackers are outstanding. And then offensively, everything runs through their quarterback. They don't get a ton of yards offensively, but very efficiently move the football, and it goes through him. Running and passing, he makes it go. If he's having a good day, then you're not having a good day on defense because he's a great player as far as running the ball and making plays down the field. And then I think we've seen what they do in the kick return. They had another kick return for a touchdown this past weekend against Duke, and that guy's really, really good in the kick return game. So all 3 phases, they're solid, coached well, really good opponent.
Scott, a couple weeks ago, you talked a lot about mental mistakes. Mm-hmm. Are the mistakes still mental? Are you getting better in that regards, and how many?
Yeah, I think we're getting better at it. I think we are. We, the high point of that was the Florida State game. We've gotten way better since then as we go back and look at it. We had a few mentals up front, in the run and passing game, this past weekend, but a lot of it was just not making the play. Come down to it, really. You got to make the throw, you got to make the catch. Hawkins had a good day running the football. So I think the big difference was what we had been making earlier games was the big plays, and you guys have seen that with Seth and Tutu and Fitz, and we just didn't have enough of those plays.
Coach, what is it that they do, Virginia, that makes it so difficult on offense to execute?
Yeah, I think it starts with their outside linebackers, and they'll base in a 3-4, and number 11 is one of the better players in the ACC, if not the country. I mean, he's 6'7", 235 pounds. He has a lot of length, and they do a good job of containing everything on the edges and then making you come inside. And when you do that, you're not getting those free plays to the edges, and now those 2 linebackers on the inside are good players. And I think they've done well in the secondary. They stay on top of everything. There's not guys running free on film to where you can get easy yards down the field. They did lose, one of the best probably corners in the country, when he's out for the season now. But last week, I mean, they didn't miss a beat defensively, not giving up any big plays. And so I think they're just coached well. They're where they're supposed to be, and there's just not any easy plays to where you can get yards. You have to earn everything.
Looking back at the Clemson game, when you decided to make the QB change in, I believe it was the first half, what went into that decision? Like, what was kind of like not necessarily the final straw, but what made you pull the trigger to swap the QB throughout the game like you did?
Well, we went into the game. We knew Malik was going to start, and then we knew Evan was going to play, so we just put him in. It's kind of like the last few games, really, and just want to get Evan some in there, and Malik comes back in there, and then at that point, toward the end of the game, it's just kind of a feel thing. I think, but Evan goes in, and we kind of went down the field a little bit, moved the ball, we just left him in toward the end of the game. But it's, they both played well. I don't think either one of them played well in that game. As you go back and look at it, there was a couple of times where we got quick game called, and pre-snap they're getting a read. And they go into a particular side. Well, it's not there. Then they're trying to flip their feet and go to the other side. We can't do that. I mean, so they did some things that uncharacteristically haven't been doing and kind of cost us. We got sacked 5 or 6 times, and really one of them was on the O-line. The other were the quarterbacks, holding the ball. Again, we've had that issue this year. We got to get rid of the football, and, we have to learn from that.
Coach, you mentioned Bryce. And just similar to Malik in a sense of he can make big plays with his feet. I think Clemson spied Malik a little bit.
They did.
Do you plan on doing that as well with Bryce, or how do you slow down his
legs? That'll be a part of our package, depending on what defense we call at that particular time, and a lot of it has to depend on down and distance where you're at on the field. But yeah, they did. Clemson did a good job, rushing three and then having one guy just kind of sitting there and waiting. So when you come out, that's a good idea. Then you have to make the play. I think Bryce does a good job of breaking tackles. He's a strong runner. And you have to be able to do that. What you'd like to be able to do is contain him and not let him get out loose. I think that's where he's dangerous. When he gets out, you break contain, he's out on the edges, and now he can run past, and that's where he becomes really dangerous. So we got to try to keep him in the pocket, and then when he does break out, have a player there to be able to contain him.
In terms of Hassan, you have any update on how he's doing?
He'll be day to day. He didn't practice Sunday. We'll see where he's at toward the middle of the week. Like a lower half injury like he has, you never know when he'll be available. We're going to really stay in the training room all week. We'll see where he's at. Obviously he's a good player for us, and not only the return game but also as a running back. And so he went out of the game, and that was a big loss for us. But that's a little bit more burden on Hawkins. He has to hold that down at running back spot.
Defensively, your guys made a few more big plays. Again, I guess it's kind of a growing trend for you guys, but still late in the game, it seems like are they getting tired, or is lack of depth, or what is that concern there?
Well, missed tackles. I think late in the game there, even the long run that number 9 had, the running back it went unbalanced into the sideline. We had 2 missed tackles. We had 2 guys there to make it, just didn't make it, didn't get him down. He's a talented runner, but you got to get him down. One of them was at 3-yard gain, and the other one was a 7-yard. If you get him down, but then he takes it all the way to the house. So, I think it's just being focused and consistent and tackling throughout the whole game. I think it just by the fourth quarter sometimes. It's not like we just got wore down. I don't think that was the case. I just think that we just didn't make the plays when we needed to, and they were able to hit some big plays on us.
After a game like Saturday lost and it's early in the day, how quickly are you back into film? Do you let some time sit? What's your process kind of for starting that?
It's the same. It's the same no matter what. We get out of here after the game. We had several recruits in here, so we spent some time with them and their families. That's one advantage to our early kick. You're able to spend time more with the recruits after the game. And then the next day you come back in and you go. So it's not like we're going to jump right on it. We're going to keep our same routine, win or lose, no matter what time it is in the day and on Saturdays. And so we had a normal routine afterwards.
Coach, you saw a lot of this last week against Clemson, but in your mind, what does your offense need to do specifically to be successful against such an efficient defense like Virginia?
Yeah, well, you got to stay on the sticks. We've talked about that all year. We did a very poor job of that, particularly in the second half. You look in the third quarter, we did not move forward. We moved backwards, actually, in the first 3 drives. So you have to stay on the sticks. And what does that mean? Well, if you do decide to throw it on first down, we need to complete it. And a lot of times our first down throws are plays that we feel very confident in completing, so we can be 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5. And now if you go incomplete, now you're 2nd and 10. And that just gets you off your routine of what you want to be able to do, and so that's first and foremost, and eliminate some of these negative plays. I think, we did a poor job with that Saturday. I don't know how many. Clemson maybe 10 or 11 tackles for loss. And that's terrible offense. It gets us off the sticks, and now they can dial up whatever they want on 2nd and 3rd down and be very aggressive. So staying on the sticks, and that just so efficient passing game on first down. And in the running game, find those holes that we can get to be able to run the football, because the other thing that Virginia does is occupy the ball. They're close to 35 minutes per game in time of possession, and what that means, you're not getting many opportunities offensively. So you got to take advantage of the opportunities you're going to get, and when you get down, obviously trying to score touchdowns. If you're limited possessions, you want to get in the end zone.
Coach, Malik's first drive was a pretty good drive until the pick. Evan's first drive was a pretty good drive until Tutu dropped that. What probably would have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
How much of those 2 plays or just turnovers or mistakes like that in general just halt a quarterback's
Yeah,
career?
well, they were huge. Malik threw that ball in that first drive. That was 2nd and 6. And, Tutu, he can make that play. You go back and watch in film, and he can make that play, and he'll tell you he should make it. And then on Evans' drive too, he should make that play, and he has made it. He's made those plays throughout the year, and we lean on him, and we got great confidence that he's going to make those plays. And they just change the game when you make those. If you fall on that the muff punt, we got 3 guys right there. They change the outcome of games because now the way they're going to call their offense is going to be different, and their defense. If it's a tied ball game, or if we're in the lead or whatever. I mean, so and against teams like that, you have to be able to make them. We did like at Wake Forest. You make some of those plays early, you get up on those teams, and then you're able to hang on and win the game. And that determines the outcomes of games. So you have to make those plays early. I think that's huge, particularly when you're playing a team like Clemson.
Coach, to go back to the point of quarterbacks, to say in a way they both have been pretty even.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel comfortable at this point to keep this 2-quarterback system, or are you still looking to maybe have one guy break away?
As I said all along, I'll play the guy that we feel like can move our offense, and I don't care who it is. I really don't. They both bring great things to the table. And if one's playing better than the other, and we feel like that, then that'll be the person that'll play. Because again, it's just who's going to move our offense, and if it takes both of them, we'll play both of them. I really, there hasn't been one that just kind of jumped out over the other one. Like it's real easy to say this person should be playing the whole time. It hasn't really been that way. They've both done a lot of good things. So, and we needed both of them. In some wins we've had this year. So. I would suspect we'll need them throughout the rest of the season, both of them, and really, that's all. You got those 2, and that's all we have. So, whoever's playing the best, that's who will play. A lot of it's been coming down to health also. They're both kind of been dinged up a little bit, and fortunately, they both came out of this game with no setbacks and any injuries. So they're both, hopefully they're healing back up and will be more healthier this week. Because I would like to get more involved in the Q run game as well. There's a couple of times the zone read, and, Evan pulled one time and got about 8 or 9 yards. You'd like to get, obviously, Malik, because that's a strength of his, to be able to get in the run game. That puts pressure on defenses. We're going to have to be able to do that this week.
Scott, you mentioned about Hawkins carrying the load if Hassan, but if that happens, is Berkeley the guy that would get some reps, or are the 2 freshmen close to being ready?
Yeah, but both freshmen will get reps this week in practice as well. Berkeley will be number 2 this week, and Mitchell and Aiden Robbins both will be ready and available, which is great. Because we still plan on redshirting both of those guys, but they can play this week. They'll be ready to go. So. We'll see which one will be the 3rd guy to come in, depending on how practice goes this week. But they both will be, offensively working with the offense, getting ready to play.
What more can your running backs do in terms of how they run the ball? I mean, how would you change their style, and how can they help the quarterbacks out a little bit more?
Well, I think Hawkins has done and Hassan when he's played as well. They've both done a really good job running our offense as far as in the run game. Been very productive. We're getting. The production we need out of them. Would like to get them probably more involved in the pass game, out of the backfield. There were times Saturday when Clemson dropped 8, and you'd like to be able to slip that back out right underneath and drop it off to them. And I think that would help because in space they're good. They can make guys miss. I think they've done a good job protection-wise. I think just the big thing for them is just getting them touches, and whether that's in the throw game or run game. We have not done as good a job, I don't think, getting the ball in the pass game. I think we could expand on that a little bit more.
Coach, when you go into a game knowing you're going to play both quarterbacks, does that change? I know they do the same things, but does that change how you call a game or how the rhythm of the game might go?
Not really. I really hadn't changed calling it depending on who's in the game. We have our game plan we're going in. They've both executed it all week in practice, and so we really haven't changed anything with it. I've got confidence in running Evan as well as Malik, as far as the Q run stuff goes. So they really hadn't changed much. They've both, taken shots down the field, throwing it. They've connected on them. I feel good about both of them running our offense, and it just, whoever's in has to be able to execute and do that. We just got a little bit rattled, I thought, Saturday between the both of them, really. They both got rattled at times and of what Clemson was doing, and, Clemson, again, is one of the better defenses. Now, we're facing another one, to me, just as good as Clemson this week. And, we got to do a much better job at that position, being a lot more efficient and in what we're trying to do in throwing the football and in the running game in order for us to get this win.
Noticed a lot of signs around here that say resilience on them with the definition, and you knew kind of there'd be adversity this season. How do you, in the middle of all of this, kind of circle back around and reinforce that message in particular, which you were talking about even before season started?
Yeah, I mean, it's just coming to work every day. I thought the guys did a good job yesterday at practice when they came over here, and very disappointed in not getting the win and not playing the way we wanted to play, but you got to move forward. And so they did a good job on the field making corrections. We've seen a bunch of them over here today already on their day off, which is great to see. And, they know we still got an opportunity to have a really good football team this year. And, we're still growing. We're still learning. And that's the encouraging thing about our guys. I think they come to work every day. Hey, what's in front of us now? And it's Virginia. We got a great opportunity. So I think that's the key, is showing up every day and working hard. Tomorrow's a big day for us. Tuesday, Wednesday practices are 2 big work days, and I feel confident they'll come in ready to go.
Coach, CJ filled in for Dorian in that first half.
Mm-hmm.
He's had a really good year. Pretty versatile for you guys. Just how important has he been in kind of anchoring that linebacker core, and especially when Dorian was out?
Yeah, he filled in. He actually moved over from his normal position, played the other inside middle linebacker position, and did a really good job for us. He's very solid. Number one, he's a solid person, very good character, very good attitude, wants to do anything to help the team, and excited about him and being around him, and he's a great leader for our defense. And so he's played well. I think anytime you can switch positions like that and still play good is a credit to him. And obviously we'll lean on him, and as we move forward, he's probably been one of our most consistent players, I think, defensively throughout the whole season.
What is it, Joe Reed? You mentioned earlier, but when he gets a kickoff, what is it about him? Because he's got some speed, but it just seems like he picks the right angle to go every time.
I think there's just a knack for returning kicks. I think Hassan's got it. Hassan's just he understands where to hit the hole, and then all of a sudden, if it gets clogged up, he's got good vision to be able to break out somewhere else. And this one they do a good job of their scheme. But I always say, kick return guys, you have to be a special person, and he is. He just something about speed and power. You're able to run through some arm tackles, but you also have the vision to know where to hit it and the timing of it. And so you couple all that together. And then he's been doing it for a long time. Like, he's very, very consistent. I think we read a stat, it was over 2,500 yards he's had in return yardage, and that's a lot of yards. So he knows what he's doing. But just speed, power, vision, all those things. He just has a great knack for it.
Have you been pleased so far with the way Blanton is kicking on the kickoffs and the way the coverage team?
Yeah, I think one thing that we'd like to have more is probably some more deep shots into the end zone off the kickoff. Like what Clemson did Saturday as a weapon. If you can kick it 8-9 yards deep, they're not returning it, and they're starting on 25. And the one time that they did pop it up to us a little bit shorter, then Hassan takes a good return back, and so. And like this team here, we got to do some things where he doesn't get those opportunities because. Just like this past weekend, Duke kicks it off to him, and next thing you know, you're 7 more points. So you got to do a great job with it. Our coverage teams, we think we can do better. We want to stop those guys inside the 25. If they choose not to fair catch it inside the 25, and like Saturday, Clemson had one, they brought one out. I forget how far, 40-yard line or something. But you got to do a better job of closing that down.
Coach, you had mentioned earlier in the season Dez's attitude, even when he's not getting the ball. He's obviously having a really good year, but how much has his leadership meant to the offense, and both him and Mansa?
Oh yeah, phenomenal. Coming out of spring, just didn't know, how he would be. But he's been awesome. I love being around him at practice. Got a great attitude. He comes to work every day. We mentioned it earlier that he blocks his tail off when it's run game, and then when his number gets called, he's ready, and he's made a lot of big plays for us. We're certainly going to utilize him and his talents the remainder of the season, and really probably need to call more plays to him. I mean, he usually when you call his number, he makes the play. And he did Saturday. He had one on a third down. We didn't convert. But other than that, he made the play. And he's a big guy with good speed. And has really good hands. And a guy that practices that hard like he does and comes to work every day, they just get better and better and better. I mean, he's got a ton of potential. To me, he's not even reached where he can be. Specifically about Dez. And then Seth, another great leader, comes out and goes to work every single day. And, just appreciate those guys because they're consistent. I think that's any coach wants is consistent players, and that's what they bring to the table.
You talked about red shirts. How do you feel going into the second half of the season or towards the latter end of the second half of the season about the general attrition and team health?
Well, I think you get to this point, you're beat up, and there's a lot. Shoot, every team in the country is probably beat up a little bit to a certain extent, and we're no different. And when I say beat up, you're not 100%. That doesn't mean you're not going to play. We got several guys on defense that they're coming to work, they're practicing every day, but they're dinged. They got bruises, and they're probably not 100%, and but they're practicing and they're pushing through it because That's football. That's going to happen, But what you'd like to have is some other guys that step up and really start, helping out with some reps, and particularly where you start seeing is on special teams. Is if you got guys that are usually our starters on one or two special teams, they also start on defense or offense. Then you're gonna have to start replacing some of those guys, but it just can't be any fall off, and that's where other younger guys have to step in and make some plays. And you get into this part of the season where you'll start seeing some more names, some more guys that are playing that will still redshirt, but they'll be able to help us a little bit depth-wise on special teams.
Along that line, when talking about health, when you get to this point in the season, trying to get through that home stretch, is there anything that you might ease back on or change in the routine to keep guys fresh?
Yeah, once we get, probably through this week right here, you do have a bye. So our byes, I think, come at really good times where you have 4 games, and then we finish with 4. So we'll try to get a lot of guys healthy next week. Won't practice as long next week. And then the last month of the season, those last 4 games, you'll probably cut back a little bit practice-wise on our 2 work days, Tuesday, Wednesday. Maybe even take some shoulder pads off one of those days. Because you get in this point in the season, you've played so physical that you don't need to bang in practice. You need to save those hits for those game days. And so once we get to that point in the season, we'll probably see a little bit of that where we'll back off a little bit time wise, and shoulder pads wise. So it becomes more mental practices so you're fresh on Saturdays. Absolutely.
Could you mention obviously only having 2 quarterbacks? That was Malik and Evan. I think for the very first time this year, Malik slid against Clemson.
Yeah, I was wondering why he slid.
Is that something you guys have talked to him
No,
about?
We didn't talk about that.
Okay, I didn't know.
I don't know why he did that. No, we don't want to do that. All right, thanks, guys.